You can't escape it, right? AI is absolutely everywhere. It's in the news, on our phones, promising to completely change our lives and maybe, just maybe, take our jobs. But how much of that is the real deal? Today, we're going to cut right through all that noise to separate the hype from the reality of artificial intelligence.
I mean, come on, you've seen headlines just like this, haven't you? They're splashed all over the place, they're big, they're bold, they're maybe a little bit scary, and they paint this wild sci-fi picture of what AI is. It's the kind of hype that, you gotta admit, definitely grabs your attention.
But what's really going on behind those sensational headlines? Well, that's where you find some fascinating and, yeah, pretty complex technology. So in this explainer, we're going to peel back the layers and really try to understand what AI is and what it can actually do.
All right, so to really get a handle on this, we've got to start with the biggest name in the game, the one everyone knows, ChatGPT. If we can understand how this one tool works, it gives us a really solid foundation for understanding the whole AI landscape.
So what is ChatGPT really? Well, for starters, it's not some single all-knowing AI brain. It's an application. And honestly, a great way to think about it is like you're chatting with a brilliant librarian. This librarian has read almost everything on the internet. So when you ask a question, they can instantly find and piece together the perfect answer for you from this massive library. Okay, so how does this whole librarian thing actually work? Let's break it down. First, you've got the entire library itself. That's the whole field of artificial intelligence. The way the librarians studied every single book, that's machine learning. Their uncanny ability to understand exactly what you're asking, just in plain English, we call that natural language processing, or NLP for short. And that enormous collection of books they pull all their information from, that's the large language model, the LLM. I know, it sounds ridiculously smart, right? But when you get right down to it, its main job is actually surprisingly simple. It's basically a super-powered word predictor. Yeah, seriously. Kind of like the autocomplete on your phone, but on a whole other level. It just analyzes everything it's learned to predict with incredible accuracy what the next most likely word should be. So how in the world does it get so good at this prediction game? Okay, picture this. When a model is brand new, it's like a little kid with a huge jumbled pile of colorful marbles. Total chaos. But after it's been trained on billions of examples of text and sentences, it starts to see the patterns. It's like that child finally learning how to sort all the marbles perfectly by color. It's not understanding what grammar is, it's just getting insanely good at spotting the patterns.
Okay, so now that we've kind of peeked under the hood of ChatGPT, let's zoom out. Because while ChatGPT gets all the media love, it's just one player in a huge and really competitive field. It's a much bigger world out there than you might think.
And this quote from Jan LeCun, I mean, this guy is basically one of the godfathers of modern AI. It really drives the point home. This is not a one-horse race, not by a long shot. There are a ton of different companies out there, all building really powerful, specialized models that have their own unique tricks.
And this is just a little snapshot of who's out there. You've got all these different companies building models that are good at different things. You need the absolute latest info from the web? Google's Gemini is probably your best bet. If you're writing a bunch of code, a lot of developers are turning to Anthropic's Claude. The big takeaway here is that there's no single best AI. The better choice really just depends on what you're trying to do. But here's something you absolutely have to remember. No matter which one of these you're using, these tools are incredibly powerful, for sure, but they are so far from perfect. We have to be able to separate the really impressive stuff from some pretty critical flaws.
I mean, on one hand, the potential here is just wow. There was this study that found GPT-4 could answer really complex, heart-related medical questions with 87% accuracy. That's actually better than the average human trainee. It gives you a glimpse of how AI can really help professionals, even in these super high-stakes fields. And, of course, that kind of power has a massive economic engine roaring behind it. We're talking about estimates that generative AI could add up to $4.4 trillion to the global economy every single year. With numbers like that, is it any wonder there's so much hype and money pouring in?
But, and this is a huge but, here comes the reality check. Those same incredible models, they can hallucinate, which is just a fancy way of saying they make stuff up, anywhere from 17 to almost 30% of the time.
They can state things that are completely wrong with total confidence, or even just invent sources that don't exist. And these hallucinations are just the tip of the iceberg. There are other big red flags. You get these snowball hallucinations, where one tiny mistake just grows and grows into a much bigger one. The data they're trained on can have all sorts of human biases baked in, which leads to some pretty skewed results. And of course, there's the whole deepfake problem. These are really serious issues we have to keep in mind.
Okay, so if the tech has these pretty obvious flaws, why is the hype so completely off the charts? Well, the answer has a lot to do with psychology, our culture, and yeah, a whole lot of good old-fashioned marketing. It's really like a perfect storm of different things all hitting at once. For decades, sci-fi movies have been setting us up to expect these thinking, feeling robots. Then you have the media, which loves a good clickbait headline. On a psychological level, we just have this built-in bias to trust an answer from a computer. Throw in a huge dose of business FOMO, fear of missing out, and massive financial incentives for investors, and you've got this hype train that's just barreling down the tracks.
So after all that, if there's just one thing you take away from this, let it be this. AI is predicting, not pondering. It's a master of recognizing patterns. It doesn't understand what it's saying in the way that we do. It's simply making an incredibly sophisticated calculation about which word should come next. It's not thinking, it's calculating. So we have this incredibly powerful tool, right? One that's built on prediction, not true understanding or consciousness. And knowing that crucial difference, the real question lands right back on us. How are you going to choose to use it, to trust it, and to navigate the future that it is already busy building all around us?